Today's topic is how to say goodbye to social eating anxiety. I'm going to give you 7 tips to overcome feeling self-conscious when eating in public. So let me ask you, do you feel self-conscious eating in public? Maybe you think people are judging your food choices or your weight, or thinking, she shouldn't be eating that. He shouldn't be eating that, something like that. Or maybe you dread walking into a room filled with strangers because it feels like there's a spotlight on you. And maybe you get home from a night out in which you ate salad and you ate perfectly and you were really aware of everything, and then you go and you just eat the kitchen. So there is definitely a connection between shyness, social eating anxiety, self-consciousness, and binge eating disorder. So feeling self-conscious, it is a horrible way to live. It affects our relationship with ourselves, the way we think about our bodies, our basic selves, and it affects how we think other people see us. And when we don't feel good about ourselves, it's easy to imagine that other people are thinking the same negative thoughts about us. And we may actually avoid social situations where there are food, or whether there's food or not. We avoid social situations and we stay home, and guess what? Then food and eating keeps you company. Shyness, or being more of an introvert, it is actually one of the most common personality traits in the world, and it can be very crippling depending on how much it affects your life. Shy people or more introverted people have a hard time making friends, hard time dating, hard time networking. They often have this sense that being an introvert is somehow not so good, that there's something wrong with being an introvert. They should be outgoing and fabulous and confident and amazing. And being shy or more introverted makes them less likable, even hard to be around. Now, shyness, I'm just calling it shyness, but it means being more introverted, or it's easier to say shy than being more introverted. So I'm using shyness as a label for being introverted, being cautious in social situations, all of those things. So shyness and binge eating can be and often are correlated. People who struggle with shyness, they develop binge eating as a way to cope with feelings of not good enough, feelings of insecurity, feelings of anxiety, even low self-esteem. Because when you think that you're somehow not good enough because you aren't, life of the party, or feel insecure around people, then you're accusing yourself of being not good enough, and that feels bad. And then you might use food as a way to soothe yourself or cope or escape from that kind of thinking. Binge eating is also a way of disconnecting from the world. Go in that binge zone, you're not thinking, you're not feeling, you're just in the zone, and you're finding comfort or distraction in food. Now remember, here's a correlation between food and people. People can be intimidating. People can be scary. They can be unpredictable, unreliable, unavailable. But food is always predictable, reliable, and available. So maybe you've experienced hurt or betrayal in the past in your friendships and relationships, or you're just kind of anxious around new people. Whatever the reason, the unpredictability and unreliability of human connection and interactions can be very stressful and overwhelming. It is a lot easier to just stay home and be like, oh no, I'm going to Netflix and chill, and I'm just going to eat whatever. I can't take the stress of people. But food, on the other hand, it's always there for us. It's predictable. It's always the same. We know what it tastes like. You are never going to bite into some chocolate ice cream and have it taste like sardines. Right? It's predictable. We know where to find it. It's available. It's reliable. We may not be able to count on people, but we can count on food. It won't lie to us. It won't betray us. And it is available, unlike people. Food is always within reach. There's a 24-hour place open somewhere, or there's something in your kitchen or your pantry or your fridge. So the reliability and availability of food makes it really an appealing way to cope for people who struggle with emotional eating or binge eating. Because remember, when it comes to emotional eating, binge eating, stress eating, any kind of disordered eating, it is not what you are eating that is the problem. It is what's eating at you. It is not what you are eating. It is why. It is not what you weigh that is the problem. It's what's weighing on you. And food presents a sense of availability, comfort, and all of that when, again, people are unpredictable or just not there, you know? But of course, it's a way of coping that hurts us. Binge eating hurts our self-esteem. It compromises our health, and it makes you even more self-conscious, right? Like, oh, if they knew that I was digging through my trash can last night to dig out the piece of cake I threw away, they would be horrified. If they really knew me, they would be disgusted by me. Things like this. Well, I've heard my entire career from people, and I remember thinking about that when I was struggling myself. So it makes people really scary and judgmental, which makes you more shy around people, right? It's a vicious cycle. So also people who are more socially anxious are more likely to use binging or use food as a coping strategy because they don't know how to self-soothe. And by the way, if you are listening to this on Voice America and this resonates with you, you can give me a call. The number is 866-472-5792, 866-472-5792. If you are watching the live stream on Instagram, feel free to drop a comment or a question about this topic if you have one. So again, if you're shy, if you're introverted, you may eat to avoid social situations altogether, or numb out your emotions. And it's reliable. Food is reliable. It's a good escape. But on the other hand, by the way, other people who already struggling with emotional eating, binge eating, they can become even more withdrawn, even more socially isolated due to that feeling of being judged and being criticized. And then that increases your risk for binging because now you're not around people at all. You feel judged. You feel self-conscious. It's a mess. What's in the fridge is basically how that goes. But there is good news here. That was the bad news. That's me laying out the problem. The good news is you do have the power to change. No matter how long you have struggled, no matter how bad it is, no matter how much you cringe when you think about your relationship with food and yourself, there is hope. You can turn it around. You can create a more positive view of yourself. You can learn to recognize your self-worth. And you can start feeling more confident and less self-conscious without gaining weight. Because I'm here to tell you this. If you feel bad about yourself and you feel self-conscious about your weight, you may have the fantasy that if you just lose weight, you're going to feel great. You're going to go out in that, bathing suit and you go to the beach and you're going to feel 100% amazing. And here's what happens usually. That doesn't happen. Like you lose weight and you still don't feel good about yourself because truly feeling good about yourself comes from inside. And losing weight doesn't give you the fantasy body you might even want. So now you've lost weight, but you don't look like you thought you would in your mind. So now you feel self-conscious about that too. I know someone who recently lost almost 100 pounds and is more self-conscious than ever because they don't look the way they thought that they would look, and now they're self-conscious of loose skin and things like that. So it really is an inside job. Okay. So let's first understand some of the terms I'm using that we all think that we know, like shyness, self-consciousness. And let me drill down a little bit on what they are. And then I'm going to tell you some strategies, 7 strategies for how not to feel this way. Now, shyness, being introverted, and self-consciousness, those are words that are often used totally interchangeably, but they are different. So a little different. But it's an important difference. So Dr. Bernardo Carducci is director of the Shyness Research Institute at Indiana University. And he defines shyness as the presence of anxious reactions and excessive self-consciousness and negative self-evaluation in response to real or imagined social interactions. That is quite a mouthful, Dr. Carducci. But basically saying, hey, look, shyness is when you are super anxious and worried and self-conscious when you are in a social situation that in which you think you may be being judged, whether you are or not. So self-consciousness is the state of judging yourself for how you look or who you are. And it shows up when you're around other people. We are not self-conscious at home, right? We're just living our lives at home by ourselves. We're not self-conscious. It's only when we get in front of other people that we start feeling that way. So self-consciousness can be an aspect of shyness, but it only shows up with other people, as does, shyness, of course. But self-consciousness is that heightened awareness of yourself, where you're just judging yourself. It's like you've got a microscope on yourself, everything that you say, what you look like thinking about every word you say, not letting yourself skip a beat. And if you miss a word or you say something or you dress in a way that's not perfect, you feel so self-conscious. Or just if you're not, it's like if you're not perfect, you're defective. It's that kind of a feeling. So if you're self-conscious, you're worried about how you are perceived by others, and you worry about your appearance, your behavior, and everything that you're saying. And shyness, of course, is related to social situations and interactions with others, but self-consciousness really is more about our internal thoughts and feelings about ourselves. So shyness is about, like, what are they thinking of me? I don't know. They look scary. I don't know about these people. Where self-consciousness is, oh my God, I must look so bad. How could I have said that? They're going to see, right? It's more self-consciousness is more internal, and shyness is, oh, how do I feel with how do I feel with these people? So shyness is kind of a personality trait. Being an introvert is a personality trait. And self-consciousness is situational, and you could be more or less self-conscious depending on the circumstance. So they're related, but they're different. So, if you're shy, you're feeling awkward in a social situation, especially meeting new people, or you're in the center of you're the center of attention. And self-consciousness is just you kind of having a running commentary about what you think other people are thinking of you, and you judging yourself, mostly you judging yourself. And what causes it? Both shyness and self-consciousness. Nobody knows, right? What causes anything? Often we don't know, because genetics can play a role. Some people are just naturally predisposed to being self-conscious. Just because of their genetic makeup. That's their temperament. They're constitutionally more on the shy side. And some people are just naturally more extroverted. Or you grow up in a family where, one person is really extroverted and you naturally become more introverted. Or you grow up in a family where one person is extroverted and you model that. So we don't really know. But our genetics can have influence it, our upbringing, our family environment could have an influence on it. And when you grow up in a household where people are overly critical or emotional expression is discouraged, you tend to see the world as critical and judgmental. If someone's always going like, you didn't do that enough, or you did that too much, or, oh my gosh, how could you fill in the blank? Then you feel like the world is that way. It's not like we grow up with critical, judgmental people and think, oh, this is just my family. There are such nice people out there in the world, and I'm going to go and interact with them. We just think, oh, this is the world. The world is scary. Or if you're not allowed to express yourself, then you don't think you can express yourself in the world either. So our entire sense of the world and of ourselves goes back to the family we grew up in and the messages that we got about ourselves and about how to be in the world. So being hyper vigilant and protecting yourself, not being around people, is a way of avoiding judgment. It's a way of avoiding criticism. But what happens is we end up then just being alone in our kitchen with a bowl of ice cream, right? Because we need other people. We sure learned that in the pandemic during COVID. But if people are unavailable and unpredictable and unreliable, we're going to self-soothe with food often instead of having fulfilling, satisfying relationships with other people who can comfort us. And also, cultural and social factors can have an influence on whether you're shy or introverted, because certain cultures place an emphasis on modesty and humility. And, don't think you're all that. Don't go out there and be in the spotlight. Who do you think you are? You're going to get a big head. These are all messages that people get. And so as a result, if you're kind of conditioned that way, then the world is, again, scary. It feels, you feel bad about putting yourself out there or even wanting to be the center of attention. So as you can see, there are a lot of causes and contributing factors to shyness and to self-consciousness, which all shows up in eating in front of other people. So let's talk now about what are some strategies to stop this automatic reaction of, ooh, let me be in the kitchen with food instead of out there. Or how do you go out and have dinner and eat without thinking that everyone is paying attention to what you are ordering and what you're eating and how fast you're eating it, and should you have ordered that, and monitoring what you're eating? That is a terrible way to be in the world, because then you have kind of two dialogues going on, right? You're at dinner with friends, and part of you is connecting with your friends. Yay for that. And another part of you is like, oh my God, am I eating that too fast? Should I have ordered that? Are they thinking that I should have no business ordering the pasta? Or, I should really only eat half of this, or I shoulding on yourself all over the place, right? And then what ought to be a really nice, lovely time and great conversation with friends and having a fulfilling, lovely time becomes an anxiety-producing experience. So after all that, you go home, you're anxious, you're worried, and there's food to calm you down. So what to do instead? So one technique that really helps shift our focus from feeling observed and under scrutiny is actually to flip the script and be an observer. Because when we're paying attention to what we see, what we think, we're less likely to feel like we're constantly under a microscope. Now, if you've listened to the show for some time, you've probably heard me tell the story about the singer with terrible stage fright, who was so self-conscious. But I bring it up a lot because it's so emblematic of our of how we experience other people through our own eyes of how we see ourselves. So she had such terrible stage fright, she would not go on tour. She absolutely would not go on tour because she was convinced that the second she was on stage, the whole audience was judging her weight and thinking, oh my God, she's fat, she's really packed on the pounds, or she doesn't look as good as, she used to, or things like that. And she was certain that she was not meeting this audience's expectation of even not just how she looked, but how she sounded. She imagined that they thought she didn't sound so good, and they were just like mentally ripping her apart and disappointed in her and wishing they hadn't paid for the ticket. These are all the things that went through her mind. So of course, how could she go on tour? How could she go put herself in front of an audience of people who were thinking mean things? Of course she couldn't. Of course she was too petrified and self-conscious to go on tour because she had so much shame and negative self-talk about her body, herself, that she projected that into the audience. So everything she thought the audience was thinking, that was what she thought about herself. So what do? We talked about her relationship with herself and cultivated self-acceptance, self-compassion, silenced that critical voice. She became kinder to herself, more accepting, stopped beating herself up, stopped judging herself, stopped criticizing herself every minute of the day, by the way. And finally, she felt confident enough to go on tour. She felt good about herself, so she could go on tour. And she had this great experience. And she could feel the audience's energy. She knew they were connecting with her. And the funny part is she called me and told me about how great it was. And then, like, she described like just she and the audience were just vibing, and it was such an incredible experience. And now she just couldn't believe she hadn't been on tour for so many years, blah, 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 blah. And then she said, but I think different people are actually coming to my shows. I think different people have discovered me. No, different people had not discovered her. I mean, maybe some have, but not a whole audience full of new people. The difference was, instead of projecting her own self-judgment into the audience and back at her, now she was projecting her own self-acceptance into the audience and back at her. So she perceived the audience as if the way she perceived herself. When she judged herself, the audience was judgmental. When she accepted herself and could lift herself up and feel good about herself, she thought that the audience felt the same. Isn't that amazing? Our relationship with other people starts with our relationship with ourselves. When we are kind, considerate, encouraging, and nice to ourselves, we imagine other people will be too. When we're harsh and judgmental and critical to ourselves, and someone comes along and they're harsh and critical to us, we accept it. We're like, oh, you must know me very well. Yeah, this is very familiar. And then you tolerate bad behavior that you ought not tolerate. But when you are kind and considerate and encouraging of yourself, and someone comes along and they are critical of you, you're going to be like, no, thank you. I'm not having any part of this. Goodbye. So being an observer is a great technique to help reduce those feelings of self-consciousness. What do you think of them? Instead of mind reading and thinking, what are they thinking of me? And then you read their minds, and of course, it's your mind. Your judgmental mind. So when we practice eyes out, like, what do you think of the world? What do you think of what this person is saying to you? What do you think of what the situation is? What do you think? Then that spotlight moves from you onto them, and you're no longer under observation, feeling observed, feeling scrutinized, and feeling self-conscious. So that is an absolute wonderful way to start dealing with self-consciousness. Be the observer instead of being observed. Eyes out instead of eyes on you. And this shift in focus, it really does reduce anxiety and self-doubt and makes it a lot easier to be with other people, because then you're like, well, what do I think about what this person is saying? And then you're actually listening and engaging with this person instead of half listening and half engaging with them, while simultaneously observing yourself and wondering about if you make sense and what they think of you. And are you making funny faces with your face as you talk? What are they thinking about what what you're saying, what you look like? Oh, it's just too exhausting and draining to have that always going on. When you're just listening and you're just observing, you actually have more fulfilling relationship with other people as well. Because, then you're not going to be self-conscious. You're just, well, what do I think of you? And when you're less self-conscious, you're also less likely to use food to cope, because you're perfectly fine. I had a nice conversation with so-and-so. That was lovely. Not, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What do they think? What do they think? What do they think? They must think this. Fill in all your judgmental thoughts. So becoming more of an observer, less focused on dodging criticism, which half the time, those people, more than half the time, most of the time, people aren't even having those critical thoughts of you. Those are your critical thoughts of yourself. Then you just feel more comfortable. You stop using food for comfort or distraction when you feel comfortable. Eating is a way of coping. Binging is a way of coping. Emotional eating is a way of coping with the problem. It is not the problem. It is a solution to the problem. The problem is feeling self-conscious. The problem is judging yourself. The problem is feeling insecure. That's the problem. Eating is a solution to the problem and a distraction from the problem. Now, of course, being an observer is not always easy. It's very hard to make a shift from, oh, let me just, eyes out, not eyes on me. It's hard to just make any kind of change. So give yourself some grace. You learned this way of being in the world. You learned to be self-conscious and probably learned to be shy. You can unlearn it and learn a new way, but it is a process. So just practice it and don't expect miracles. Just practice. Practice makes progress because, of course, there is no such thing as perfection. No such thing. But being an observer is really a powerful tool for reducing self-consciousness, improving your overall sense of of how you feel in the world and self-confidence and just feeling more at ease in the world. Jordan, how much time do I have before my break? I think I have
30 seconds.
Okay, I have 30 seconds before my break. So if you're on Voice America, I'm going to probably take my break slightly early. Is that okay, Jordan? I'm asking my engineer. I'm going to take my break a little bit early, and then when we come back, I'm going to share 6 other strategies for overcoming shyness. And if you are on Instagram and you have a question, a comment, anything you want to know, I'm going to stay with you during the break. So otherwise, I'll see you in 2 minutes.
All clear. Back in 2.
Okay, thank you. So everyone on Instagram, I'm on my break for 2 minutes on my Voice America show, which I'm live streaming here on Instagram. Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Or it doesn't even have to be about this topic. Can you resonate with this idea of thinking that other people are thinking mean thoughts towards you? If you're just joining, I'm on my break from my show. I'll be back live in just a little bit. Let me put these on so I don't miss my cue. So do you think that being shy is somehow not as preferable as being outgoing? Because a lot of people have that idea, like, oh, I should be outgoing. What about you? I'm talking to you on Instagram. Do you resonate with that? Shoot me a emoji or write something in the comments if you do. No? Are you alive? Are you here? Are you conscious? No? Okay. Well, if you're still with me, when I come back, I'm going to talk about 6 more strategies on how to overcome self-consciousness and shyness so that you can feel more comfortable eating in public or being in public.
Seconds.
All right. Back in 15 seconds. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. Have questions for Dr. Nina? Join her on the show at 866-472-5792. That's 866-472-5792. Now back to the show.
Hi, welcome back to the Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. Today we are talking about self-consciousness and shyness, eating in front of other people. I talked a lot about what shyness is, what self-consciousness is, the idea that somehow if you're more introverted, that's not as appealing as if you're extroverted, which is just an idea that we get in our society and is so not true. And I've started to give some strategies on how to feel better eating in public. And my first strategy that I talked about before the break was to be an observer. So eyes out. What do you think of other people in situations instead of what are they thinking of you? Because when you are the observer, you move the spotlight to other people and it comes off of you, which is quite a relief. All right, other strategies: accept yourself for who you are. Don't try to change who you are. That only just makes you more anxious and shy and brings up the sense of, hey, there's something wrong with you for being how you are. Because question where you got the idea that you should be different, whether you are shy or introverted and you think that you should be more extroverted, or whether you love being a stay-at-home mom, but you think you should have a big career, or whether you have a big career and you think you should be a stay-at-home parent, or whatever it is. Like, what is the story that you are telling yourself about yourself? Because if you think that there's a problem with you and that somehow you are not up to par and there is something not good enough about you, you are going to think that other people feel the same. That's what we do. We mind read all over the place. We think other people are thinking the thoughts we have about ourselves. And Heather, I'm so glad, Heather on Instagram, I'm so glad you love this topic. Please let me know if you have any comments or questions about this topic. I am here to help. So look at what it is that you think is not good enough about you. And if that has to do with your weight, consider why you think you're going to be a better you at a lower weight. And by the way, I am not against weight loss. I think it's perfectly okay to want to lose weight, but want to lose weight for the right reasons. Don't try to lose weight because you think your life will change. You'll be a better you. If you're shy, you'll be confident and outgoing. If you're single, you'll get married. If whatever it is, like the diet industry sells us the illusion that if we just lose weight, we're going to have the lives we want. If we just lose weight, we can make other people like us better. If we just lose weight, we can get that job that was denied to us and we tell ourselves it was because of how we look, things like that. These are all things I've heard from my patients over the years. I even had one person who said when she lost weight, she would be smarter. Or I had a friend who said, well, this was some time ago and the guy broke up with her, having nothing to do with her weight, but she said, I am going to lose 20 pounds and I am going to get him back. Well, the guy did not break up with her because of her weight. So for her to have the illusion that if she just lost 20 pounds, he would like her better, really did herself a disservice and him, as if he was that shallow that he would like her better. He would like her more if there was 20 pounds less of her. So really look at what makes you think you're not good enough as you are. You learn that idea. It comes from somewhere. Dig deep and question that and really look at what you think of yourself overall, not what you hate about yourself, what you like about yourself, what you don't like. Because self-acceptance, which I really like even more than self-love, self-acceptance is, hey, I accept the things I don't like about myself and I'm working to change, but as I accept the totality of who I am, I accept all of me. And think about this. If a friend of yours lost weight, You would not say, oh my gosh, I liked her before, but she's lost weight. And now, oh my God, I really like her so much more. Nor if a friend of yours gained weight, would you think, oh, I liked her, but I don't like her quite as much as when she was thinner. It's absurd, right? And yet that's the way we treat ourselves, as if somehow we're going to be better if we're thinner and unacceptable if we're not. And then that becomes how we feel in the world, not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. Heather wants to know how to move away from worrying about what other people think. Well, the first step is what I was saying earlier, stay with what you think of them. When we're mind readers, we're usually reading our own minds. We're usually imagining that people are thinking the worst and not the best. And why? Because we think the worst. So part of it is be an observer. What do you think? But also consider how you got the idea that you're not good enough or that you should change. Because when you challenge that, you're going to feel more comfortable in the world. You're not going to imagine everybody else is also thinking that you're not good enough. And that leads me to number 2. What a perfect segue that was, Heather. Thank you for your help. Number 3. First one is be an observer. Second, accept yourself for who you are. Challenge. Next is challenge your negative thoughts about yourself. If you catch yourself thinking, well, I'm not good enough. People don't like me. People like me more if I lost weight. People would like me more if I was more outgoing. People would like me more if I was, fill in the blank. Challenge that thought. Really? Would you think that about other people? Or is that just your own way of beating yourself up and feeling bad about yourself and focusing on the things that you either, perceive and may or may not be there, but that you're telling a narrative about yourself that you're believing? Where does this narrative come from? We learn how to think about ourselves, and then we create a story about ourselves. And then we, unbeknownst to ourselves, we unconsciously seek evidence to prove the story, even if the story is wrong. I once knew someone who it was her birthday, and she got like 200 people sent her text messages, and and one person did not. And her story about herself was, well, people can't keep her in their mind and they don't really care about her and they don't like her. So despite the fact that she got 200 plus texts from people wishing her happy birthday, her evidence was, but that person didn't. See, that person didn't write me. That person doesn't remember. I can't stay in that person's mind. That's how people think about me, which is such an extreme example of filtering out everything that does not fit the story so that you can hold on to the narrative, even if it's a negative narrative. So, Heather, be an observer, work on accepting yourself, and challenge the negative thoughts that you have about yourself. Where did they come from? And would you think that about any other person? Also, on a more practical level, practice socializing or eating in front of other people in a safe environment. Don't jump into the deep end of the pool. Start with the shallow end. Start with the baby pool. Like, if you feel self-conscious eating in front of other people, just go out to lunch or dinner with like someone you do feel safe with, someone that you feel comfortable with, and just really practice noticing how often you might think that they're thinking something, and then you're with this person who likes you and loves you, and you can really challenge some of your ideas, and you can start getting used to, no, I will go out and I will not have the mind reading thought. I will not be self-conscious because I'm going to keep my mind on, out. What's my friend saying? What's the place like? Where you can really practice putting these things into practice, into action. Also, notice your body language. Because we don't realize how often our body language affects how we come across to others. All right, here is a great example of this. I love this story so much. Oh, I think you're going to love it. So Marilyn Monroe, back in the day when Marilyn Monroe was like the biggest movie star in the world, Marilyn Monroe was walking down, I think it was either Fifth Avenue or Madison Avenue. Let's call it Fifth Avenue, with her friend, her childhood friend. And her friend is like, oh my God. And there's, Fifth Avenue, tons of people. It's New York, people everywhere, all around. And her friend said, oh my God, I cannot believe this. I am walking down Fifth Avenue with Marilyn Monroe and nobody is recognizing you. This is crazy. And Marilyn said, oh no, you're not with Marilyn Monroe. You're with Norma Jean. That was her birth name, Norma Jean. So she was making the distinction between her persona of Marilyn and the real her, which is Norma Jean. And she said, you want to see Marilyn? And right there, she just sort of threw her shoulders back. She, had kind of a different attitude, and they were mobbed. Isn't that amazing? So when she was Norma Jean, in her mind, nobody recognized her. Nobody looked at her twice. Biggest movie star at the time in the world. But when internally she kind of turned it on, boom, they were mobbed. So that really highlights how much of what we feel about ourselves within comes across to the world. If you're kind of avoiding eye contact, if your shoulders are drooping, if you have a look of, oh, don't speak to me, I want to be invisible, and you look really timid and shy, and people are going to leave you alone. But if you stand up straight, if you channel your inner Marilyn, if you stand up straight, if you maintain eye contact, if your chin is high and you're taking on the world and you speak clearly, people are going to respond differently to you. Because if we're going through the world like, oh, if we're Norma Jeaning it through the world, no, don't look at me. No one's going to look at you. And then you're going to reinforce that idea of you're being overlooked. No one can see you, or they don't want to. But when you show a different part of you, then you can show up differently in the world. People will respond to you differently. Another thing you can do is take small risks in certain social situations. Start small. Like, join a new Facebook group. By the way, if you want to join my Dr. Nina's Food for Thought community, Outsmart Emotional Eating on Facebook, please do. Well, one thing you could do is you could join my Facebook group or any others, and you could start by introducing yourself. It's a safe way to do it, right? You're on Facebook. It's not you. You're just putting yourself out there, but the risk is not so bad. And you can ask a question or you can respond or something like that. Then you can start building confidence when you have a different response from people than what you expect. And gradually, you can take that into the world. Maybe you'll be at a party or something and you'll ask a stranger something, but you got to build up to that. But take small risks, start at the kiddie pool, then move into the shallow end. Don't go into the deep end of the pool of this. Just start small, baby steps. And also, find things that help you relax. Now, what has this got to do with shyness? If you are able to relax and you are able to feel good about yourself and not judge yourself for doing things alone. A lot of people I know who are introverted, they have such shame over saying things like, oh, well, I like to read. I should want to go and do things with other people, but I don't. Or, I'd rather go for a walk than play tennis or pickleball with a bunch of people. And it's almost like they're admitting it to themselves, as opposed to, no, some people like pickleball and some people like going on a solitary walk. Don't judge it. Find activities that help you relax and enjoy them so that you won't use food to relax or for company. Often we use food to sedate ourselves. Many people, when they're anxious, they use carby foods, especially, as a way of just sedating their bodies. So if you learn how to relax in a different way, and I include self-talk, of course, too, but activities like yoga or reading or binge watching a show, something that doesn't have to be with other people. Just learn how to relax and be and feel good in your body and your life. You will feel better. And when you feel better, you feel better about yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, you're not going to think other people are judging you, and you're going to be less shy about being with other people. So you're not going to think they're thinking mean things about you. And let's consider this. Is shyness really a bad thing? It might seem obvious that it's not, but so many people who are shy or introverted think it is. It's often seen as such a negative quality. And I want to give you some reasons why it's actually a good thing. People who are more shy and introverted are usually wonderful listeners. They prefer to take in their surroundings and feel safe before they speak up. They make great confidence. They're supportive friends. Of course, be careful with this, because what you don't want is to be that person that takes care of everybody else and then food takes care of you. That's no good either. Introverted people are often thoughtful and reflective. They tend to reflect before they talk. They may be more introspective. They may be more self-aware. And that can really lead to more evolution, personal growth, a deeper understanding of yourself and other people. So you're more introverted, you may be more capable of doing that kind of work. Introverted people, shy people are often more sensitive to the feelings of others, have more empathy, makes them more compassionate, which leads to stronger relationships once you have the courage to make those relationships and not think that people are judging you all the time or thinking bad thoughts. And it helps you connect with other people emotionally in a far better way. And they also have more unique perspectives on the world, because if you're more inclined to think before you speak, during that time when you think, you might be someone who comes up with a more creative solution or a creative approach that others might not consider if they're just like, hey, let's do this. And they're not worried about what you're going to think about they're not worried about what you're going to think about their thought. So they just kind of go, well, what about this? But if you're like, well, let me think about this, you're actually better able to think things through and sometimes come up with better solutions. And it's really good if you are collaborating with people, whether it's in the workplace or at home, right? Everything's a collaboration. By the way, someone just shared this. This is going to sound like it's totally off topic, and it is, but also not. All roads lead to Rome, which is your relationship with yourself. How do you know if you're in a good relationship? Ask yourself these two questions. Whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship relationship, here are two questions to ask yourself. One is, how do I feel? How do I feel when I'm with this person? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel heard? Do I feel important? Or do I feel made use of? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel self-conscious? Like, how do I feel with this person? And the second question is, do I like the person I am when I'm with this person? Because different people can bring out different aspects of us. So how do you feel with this person? And do you like the person you are when you're with them? Food for thought. Just thought I'd throw it in there. Okay. Also, introverted people can be more creative because shyness leads to a more inward focused perspective. Again, that creates more creativity and imagination. And also, some studies have actually shown that shyness is correlated with increased creativity. It's not just me saying it. There are actual studies that back it up in certain areas of being creative. So while being introverted is for some reason seen as a negative trait, usually by those who feel introverted or shy, not other people, it can also have a lot of very positive aspects. So if you are introverted, if you are shy, remember you have unique perspectives. You have unique strengths. So celebrate those. And it's important to embrace self-confidence and reframe shyness, because the better we feel about ourselves, the better we feel. The better we feel about ourselves, as I have shown earlier today, the less likely we are to think that other people, sorry, losing my voice. Okay, it's coming back. The less likely we are to think that other people are going to be judging us. So one strategy to embrace self-confidence is to focus on your strengths and your accomplishments. Make a list of your personal and professional achievements and remind yourself of them often. Yes, toot your own horn. It does not mean that you are being arrogant. It means that you are recognizing your worth. It helps boost your self-confidence. It gives you a sense of pride in yourself. And also think about the way you think about social situations. Instead of focusing on, oh my God, I could be rejected, I could be judged, I could be criticized, and all of that, try to view them as opportunities for growth and connection. And Heather, you just asked if there's a book that I can recommend, and you are just giving me like such incredible segues. So that is it for the show for today. But if you would like a deeper dive into this topic and so much others, I recommend my book, The Binge Cure, 7 Steps to Outsmart Emotional Eating. While it is not about shyness and so it's not completely about the topic of today, it absolutely goes into all of these areas that I talked about today in depth. So it will help you feel better about yourself and stop using food as an escape, comfort, all the things that it does. So again, thank you so much for joining me here on the Binge Cure with Dr. Nina. I am here every Thursday on Voice America at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, and I also live stream on Instagram. Take good care, and I will. Oh, if you missed the show, you can always listen later on Voice America or on all podcast channels. Take good care. Stay curious, not critical. I will see you next week. Bye for now.
All clear. Great show.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You too.
Okay. Bye.